What's going on, everybody? We got ourselves a dub, and I'm sitting here next to my guy PG here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel. I'm your host Jay. We've got Coop, and we got PG. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. I don't think we deserve it. Just go ahead and give us 5 anyway, and gift it. So on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, we're going to dive into a few fun topics. We're going to talk about the dominance of Alabama, which is probably the most important thing that we have going on this weekend. And we're going to talk about what it means and kind of go all the way from there. So let's leave from that. Coop, what's going on, man?
Boomer damn Sooner, my friends. Everybody. Jay, you're going to have to do a little audio increase on you guys' side, but I tell you this.
How's that?
There we go. That's much better. I said it on Jason. I joined K. Chris last night and joined Jason, went well into like 2 o'clock in the morning, just, being happy. Man, this is a feeling that is so foreign to me because this was probably the first game that I've, as a Sooner fan for 30 years, like, this is the first time that I went to a game going, we're not going to win this game. There's no chance. Like, there's zero chance. And to not only win the game, but to absolute dominate the entire game. Dominate in such a fashion that officials are just making up penalties. Like, that takes it to a different level.
That's a question, though. Did they make up a penalty, or was it just a big boo-boo on their part?
Yes. It's one of those things. They're like, we've gotten some screw job calls. I mean, the Oregon fumble on the kickoff. Just Woody Washington has had a couple of bad PIs called on him. We've had interceptions taken down. Man, this is like everything that could happen, to basically call in all of our favors. It happened. And, it's not like we did it against a team like Kentucky or South Carolina to where you're like, when it's just, the officials taking up for the big brands, and trying to take, it was OU versus Alabama. That's like a situation with it happening against, in the OU Texas game in the Big 12. So guys, it just literally that last night saved and redeemed the whole season. Just redeemed the whole season and made this whole season. It's just crazy. Like, the mentality of like how we feel today versus how we felt at this point yesterday is different. I mean, at this point yesterday, our hopes were just don't get embarrassed.
Yep. So it's funny you say that because that was the first thought that I had going in. And PG, I'm going to get your thoughts on, now we got an additional reaction of it. Here's the thing that jumped out to me the most with the win was literally, as everybody's been talking about, is the pure dominance. We literally went out there and played bully ball. And shout out Fighting Truth. Glad you pulled up or whatnot. The one thing that I said about this game and the one thing I said about this team that I've been wanting to see, I just wanted to see you go out there and muscle people. And we got that. Mm-hmm. So the whole argument I've had towards Brent Venables as head coach, having Bill Beatonbow, and the way that I wanted the team to perform in time was this, Coop. I wanted them to be dominant. I wanted them to just dominate everything, every facet on it. And we did it against an Alabama team that we watched kind of muscle some other teams around this year, right? They beat Georgia. They gave Georgia problems. Actually, they muscled Georgia in the first half and fell apart in the second, but we just ran down. You just went down their throat nonstop. PG, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I felt great about it. I came down at halftime to give you that cup and that jersey, and I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm so excited that we got the lead, but I'm like, are we gonna blow this? Because you were ultimately waiting for the collapse of Oklahoma, right? Whether it was on the offensive side of the ball or the defense. But even when it felt like the offense was starting to stall out, the defense was feeding off the crowd's energy, which they haven't been able to do all year because the crowd really, outside of the Tennessee game, hasn't been in it because the offense has been so bad. But, I mean, you know, we come into it and we look at this, and this was an interesting stat for me. Like, Temple was our lowest game of the season. We held them to like 197 yards. We held Alabama to less yards than Maine. We held Alabama to 234 total yards. Maine only had 251. So when we talk about domination, that's one of the things I look at. I look at a team like Alabama couldn't even outgain a team like Maine in Norman.
You want me to add to that? Let me add to that for you real quick. So I pulled up the reference stats to see our defensive log for this entire season. We haven't given up more than 300 yards in the last 3 games. That's pretty darn good, right, Coop? Like, that's a number that you can hang your hat on and be excited about. We haven't given up 300 yards of total offense in 3 straight games. Everybody clowned us about Maine. And I was like, feels like we're starting to go back in the right direction. Missouri, we did. We just gave that game away. Bama was everything put together completely as a holistic piece. That's where your excitement came from me. We did that. And something that we've been needing to do for a while. Coop, let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Gave our raw reaction. I think the offense deserves the early attention because they are the ones that did the exact opposite of what we expected going into this game. Even if we say that, oh, you know, we have a chance. You know, the one thing that always made us think that something's going to happen in this game is that every game in the second half, our offense has fell apart. We didn't do it this time. Let's talk about offense. What jumped out to you the most?
Identity. We had a mother freaking identity on offense. You had something. And I said it last night. I said it last night with Jason and K. Chris. But Joe John Finley is an air raid guy. And for him to go again, I mean, that literally looked like it looked like the Notre Dame quarterback now when he was at Duke, Riley Leonard. It looked like Riley Leonard Duke offense from 2 years ago, and that's what it looked like. And you know, he was out there. You know, Jackson Arnold was out there. You get him in a little bit of a rhythm, but man, you got to give Joe John Finley an absolute shout out because it would have been really, really easy for him to be like, all right, now let's try to throw the ball a little bit. Let's see what happens here. And the only time that you really saw him go to an actual passing, I wouldn't say attack. Jackson threw the ball 11 times, but the only time that you saw, them go to a passing game was they ran a first down run, and I think it might have been Sawchuck come in, and they got him, right at the line of scrimmage. Yep. And so then they called a couple of, they called a jet sweep, and they called a wide receiver throw out, and it was just one of those games where you're like, how many times? I mean, go back to the 2000s. How many times? Is that the Sugar Bowl versus LSU? Kejuan Jones is just running the ball straight down the field, and then we throw the ball 4 straight times and lose the game. It's like every single one of those times where you're like, we're running the ball. It's working. Keep running the damn ball. Just keep running the ball. Just keep handing the ball off. So I will say this is, man, shout out to JJF because he really went against probable tendencies. There was probably people, having conversations with him and be like, hey, let's toss it out there a little bit more. But it was just a beautiful thing to see. I don't want to go negative on it yet, but I mean, at the same time, like, as a fan, you're like, well, we've been calling for some of these young offensive linemen, and there's that. And then we'll get to it.
Please go there real quick.
But yeah. So like, we were calling for the young offensive linemen, right? The running back situation, it took massive amounts of injuries to get X-Rob out there as the main ball carrier, and another fumble by Tatum. So it's hard to go. So was X-Rob really just non-existent for 10 weeks? And then all of a sudden now he's something? So
nope.
That's just it. It's like you had guys out there on senior night on the closeout for some great and illustrious careers, you had a bunch of freshmen out there running the offense.
And that's the best part is you've got all the young players showed up. And I'm glad you point that out because I've had a few people say that. They're like, why didn't these players play before? Because I've heard this a few times. Like, why aren't we playing X Rob this whole time? And I was listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown earlier, and Gabe pointed it out perfectly. He said, don't think that this is the X Rob today that we saw when he started the season. He has been transforming his body. If there's any praise you want to give him, he works his tail off every single day to transform his body to get to where he's at today. He just went in detail of how that worked. And that's exactly what we was hoping for. So he transformed his body, transformed his game, and then when they asked him to move up and he started playing, he got better. Go listen to the Oklahoma Breakdown. Gabe gives a great breakdown on that portion of it. But to even add to the offensive line, the offensive linemen don't play day one because when you see them in practice day one, you realize you don't need to be playing right now. But the beauty of it is that that's what happens in football. You improve. That's why you like having juniors and seniors instead of having freshmen and sophomores, because as they gradually get better, that experience helps them. Now they have a whole bunch of film to look at themselves and say, oh, those are the mistakes I keep making. Let me fix that. X-Rob has shown that. He's one of those. Eddie Pierre-Louis had like at least 12 snaps. I think he had more, but PFF gave him 12 snaps, and he was moving furniture. Troy Everett was moving furniture. Heath Ozida, moving furniture. Logan Howland. Moving furniture. Coop, listen to me. And I want you and PG to chime in on this. When Howland was, and I'm gonna keep it a buck here. When Howland was getting abused to start the season and then Ole Miss destroyed him, did you think you'd see this out of him the last 3 weeks?
No. And not only that, but like he had a tell. Gabe talked about it. He was turning his body, parallel to the sideline, which was making an easy sit, an easy get through for a lot of these guys. With athletes, it's when you get pressed and when you experience failure, you got two choices. You can bitch about it and you can throw a fit and you can get frustrated, or you can get better. And I'm the type of soulless, heartless person that says, all right, you got your butt handed to you, suck it up and get back to work. Get out there. Well, let's talk about it. No, get better. Be better. Like, you saw that from the offense. And here's the thing, Jay, is you see it in sports all the time, and I think that this had a little situation out there. I'm wondering if Alabama didn't take Oklahoma very serious. And then Oklahoma came out and just absolutely smashed them right in the mouth, and they were like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I'll just say,
never mind. Oops.
I'll say this is if anybody wants to, I've already seen it circulating around, but, shout out Nick Saban. We are built for this, buddy. Our defense has not only, more than held its own this year, but then you get a chance to go against the, somebody who's on his way to New York City for the Heisman. Dude may not go now. I mean, that's that kind of night for him. And so, but yeah, I mean, on offense, you had a game plan. And I can only guess that Alabama fans are feeling like OU fans did in 2018 when we played Army. And it's just it's the same damn play over and over and over again. It's the same thing over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. We know it's coming, and there's nothing we can do about it. And
let me simplify it there too.
Go ahead.
I'm simplifying.
Yeah, I'll finish this part. But like, you don't have success doing that unless you are winning battles. You can't get lucky that through a whole game that way unless you're actually winning battles. So, was Alabama's defense, maybe not exactly ready and just thought that they were going to roll in there and just punk everybody? Maybe so. But you still get to a couple of slaps, and you got to come out and you got to have an answer. I want to, while you guys are talking, I want to search something else up. But one sack, and I'm not even sure that it was an actual sack. I think it might have been a quarterback behind the line, quarterback run behind the line, so not a real sack. But
It was a
quarterback
pass
line.
play, so it technically counts
Okay, it
as
was,
a
okay.
pass. It was a pass play.
Okay,
The tackles were moving back, and he just got yanked, and Ethan Downs, and he made him take a knee. Actually, no, that was the Ethan Downs one.
Oh,
I'm talking about Armisen Thomas actually hit him.
Yeah.
No,
Armisen
I'm
Thomas actually
talking
did
about
tackle him.
I'm talking about
Ours.
Jackson Arnold only got
Oh
sacked.
yeah. I
so-
think that was. I think that we actually did go back to pass. We did in that play. It was our line did move. You're right. It did move. So yeah, and it does quote unquote count as a sack, but as much scrambling and running he did. So yeah, it's hard to distinguish. But real quick, two things that you pointed out, which is fantastic. Just like as Mike Tyson has said numerous times in one of his statements, everybody's got a game plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? And then Marshawn Lynch adds right to that. The great football philosopher said sometimes you just got to run through somebody's face. Just go over and 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 over again. The moral of the story, run through them up face. That's all you got to do. And that's what we did. Like until they stop it, why stop it? Make them dictate. And honestly, I was even talking to our guy, Ty. I had said, man, if that was Levy, we probably would not have done that. No. Because one thing Levy would have tried to do, he would have tried to, all right, let's switch it up. Let's change things because we want to make sure that we keep the defense honest. No, run through them up face.
Yes.
That's what I've been wanting. PG, talk to me about, give me your thoughts on the offense too, and then we can go into.
Yeah, I mean, the offense for Oklahoma, I mean, you look at the offensive line and you look at the grades. Grade-wise, they didn't.
Jay, PG, you sound like you're calling a baseball game in a metal building.
You changed it off. He made him say an exchange to see if that would help him. All right, now try it.
Now that's probably better.
Yep, there you go.
Sorry, guys. We
Cubs
got a
win
new
the
board,
World
and we're trying
Series.
to work on it before we go do an interview later. So we want to make sure we get everything worked out. But no, I mean, the offense, when you look at the grades for the offensive line, they don't look super spectacular. Obviously, the pass grades are going to look good because we only dropped back 11 times. But, you know, on the whole, you looked at how the offensive linemen were moving defensive linemen, you know, across the board. It felt like I was watching an Alex Grinch defense. And somebody had talked about that last night. And I was like, that's a perfect allusion to it. That is perfect. We were playing against an Alex Grinch defense. They were soft.
You make a very valid point there. That it kind of does feel like they. Me and Todd talked about this real quick. Their defense came out in a lot of 3-3-5. That's kind of a problem.
Yeah. It shocked me that with as good of the defensive linemen that Alabama has, they could not stop I'm going to be honest, a true freshman that should not do that to anyone in the country. Like, they couldn't stop it. And for everybody, put this in perspective, Alabama has 3 5-star defensive tackles on the interior. They have 2 5-star edge rushers, and they couldn't stop the run game. And at times, they could stop Jackson Arnold, but they couldn't stop Xavier Robinson. And Oklahoma's offensive line's awful. And I think Brent Venables kind of alluded to that last night. Like, it's not the best offensive line, and Alabama struggled. So I don't know if that's the development of Bill Beadenbow since Seth Luttrell's been fired, because I think all three of us can admit Seth Luttrell might have been the issue on the offensive line, because it's gotten better since Bill Beadenbow's taken it over fully. You've seen improvement from these guys when they have continuity. So is it a little bit of development on this offensive line, or was it just Alabama's defensive players aren't getting the development that they had with Nick Saban? Or is it a little bit of both, right? And if it's a little bit of both, you're an Oklahoma fan watching this game thinking, if we can replicate that against LSU, next season's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Nope. That's a valid point, because what Bill Beadenbow has done, and this is with a perspective I've tried to put on when I did my morning after and talked about this, was players improve week over week, and it takes time for players to improve week over week. So we can't expect young players. Logan Howland's a redshirt freshman. We have eight players that are either sophomore or below in our 3 deep on the offensive line. So It takes time to watch film, understand where you make your mistakes. Some things you can fix in practice, but when you get into a game and underneath those lights, man, sometimes you gotta put yourself in there, throw yourself out there, and figure out if it's working or not. And then that's what they did. And now they've gotten better because of that. And so, to me, Bill Beatonbow's been doing what he's supposed to do. He's developing an offensive line in time. Talking about X-Rob, look, he was a 3-star recruit. I remember getting excited. I went back and looked at the video I did on him when we first signed him, and there's people in the comments like, why are we 3-star you all the time? Why are we always only getting 3-star players? But then you see him run down a dude's throat like that, then you say, what? Well, I think I missed that. You know who else we honestly, quote unquote, Oklahoma missed on too? Josh Jacobs. He was a 3-star running back out of Tulsa. He went to Alabama. You see him what he's doing for the Green Bay Packers still today? He led the league with the Raiders. My point, it's more so about the evaluations that you put out there to determine if players is as good as they actually are. And sometimes you got to see that work ethic too. X-Rob is a hard, him and Javonte Barnes to me are your hardest working dudes in the running back room, and it's no shade to nobody else. The fact that X-Rob still gets up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to work out with Schmitty, and that's what Gabe was saying, and we've seen how hard Javonte Barnes has been running this entire season. That tells you your hardest workers. The other dudes are probably still putting in work. They may not be putting the extra 1% in that X-Rob is. So that's the beauty of it. We should be excited about that part, man. He is good. It takes time to get better. And a lot of these players, as they've gotten better and the opportunity's been placed in front of them, and we've gotten healthier, they look better. Coop, got to talk about the defensive side of the ball. Now, actually, you know what? Before we do that,
hold on.
I want to close on the wide receiver room. So we threw the ball 11 times. Mm-hmm. We had 9 catches, 9 completions, 11 attempts. Not too bad. Numbers were really low. Jackson Arnold had a few shovels, which worked. The pass to Bauer Sharp on the sideline was fantastic. It sucks that he didn't score the touchdown because we could have been up 31-24, but I digress. The fact that the wide receiver room did not quit and they blocked their all I watched J.J. Hesher do was pancakes, baby. I thought he was an offensive lineman the way he was out. Dude, we need to give them their flowers. BT15, he was blocking. He was coming across, putting his shoulder into people's chests, right? You saw this from all the wide receivers. And shout out to Bauer Sharp for that block to the gave Jackson Arnold where he sprung up the middle and almost ran it back. Shout out to him because that was a good seal block to where Jackson could go right off his butt and run straight up. Man, the blocking from top to bottom. Somebody mentioned this in a group chat that I'm in. He was like, I cannot believe that we played the way we played in this game, being a 5-5 team and losing the way that we've lost games. How is morale not down? How is the culture that strong that people are playing that damn hard nonstop?
Well, hold on. Before we give it to Coop, I think it's pretty easy. We heard Brent Venables talk about Julie, and I think the team has understood this all year long and understood everything Brent Venables is going through and understands this is a fluky year for them. And, you know, you're giving props to the wide receiver group. They stayed ready the entire game. Jacob Jordan caught a crucial 5-yard pass to get a first down, a Drake Stoops type of pass. Bauer Sharp, although he dropped the touchdown pass, he stayed ready and caught 2 more passes after that to keep drives going. Like, these wide receivers, like, they kept these drives going. Like, they stayed ready. And I mean, you know, Brent Venables talks about it with the blocking, right? It's the little things. It's the guys going out on special teams and doing the right things that earns them an opportunity, right? It's the blocking and those little things that's going to continue to earn them opportunities with Jackson Arnold to find them open and to get them the ball a little bit more. So, because I mean, that's the biggest thing. Jackson Arnold all season has not had trust in any of these wide receivers. The 5 guys he had trust in, he lost them all. And they haven't been able to develop the chemistry this year. And as they continue to do the right things for him, he's going to be able to find them and reward them.
It is. We talked about it on Wednesday, and I brought it up, not in a manner of, hey, we're going to go win this game, because I'm pretty sure that I caveated that one pretty well. But we've played all the best rush defenses that we're going to play. And Alabama and LSU were the two worst ones. And we had been finding success on the ground. And so I'm going to bring up, a little Al Pacino Any Given Sunday when he's talking about how he's like, you take all these inches and you put together all those extra inches and all those extra pieces, those extra efforts, you put them together. That's the difference between winning and losing. We didn't give the ball up. We gave the ball up one time. And, Tatum got a good hit, but again, it's like his fifth or sixth fumble. That's something I think that dude's probably going to be walking around campus with a football all summer long. So, but I also got to say this is, so I did look, and it was Malachi Moore sacked Jackson Arnold with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That was the only sack that we gave up.
11 minutes left. That's impressive.
Yeah, I think I was almost to the point where I thought we were going to win. Because, Jay, you said something at halftime, and I said, I don't know, I saw the Ole Miss game. My wife came in and said, oh, we're winning and you're awake. So how is that happening? It's because she, wanted me to fall asleep like we did at Auburn. But I just do this is like, you had guys, when you have a team like this one, you need some success. And once you started seeing some success, it was a different ball game. Because then all of a sudden you're Alabama and you're going, well, hold on a second, like, all right, well, okay, guys, something has to change here. And you kept on just waiting and waiting and waiting for the strip sack, fumble, scoop and score for Alabama's defense. You kept on waiting for somebody to dislodge a ball or, and listen, I puckered quite a bit when X-Rob, did the stretch out touchdown run because I thought, man, this would be the way that we lose this game is him reaching out for the pylon and dropping it too early. Guys, it just never happened. You didn't see the absolute killer penalties. I mean, I think that we got the one that they did, they called on Kobe, which congratulations, Kobe and Kinsey. We got a nice little engagement between Kinsey McKenzie is loading. But
I love it.
Kobe got the penalty called on him to where I think it's the deal where the offensive line does where they the guard will slap at the center for the snap. So when he did that, Kobe kind of jumped a tad bit, and they called that on him because then two of their guys moved. Yep. But like there wasn't the situations where you saw everybody just absolutely just go out and play scared. They went out and played free. And I'm gonna do a little George Stoya's father. He made a comment that or I guess it was his brother. He said to him something along the lines of, this is just a perfect example of a blue blood program who just does not want to quit and knows what they're playing for. And when the people who have been leading this team, all these young kids, were on visits with Billy Bowman, with Danny Stutzman, with Ethan Downs, all of these seniors, all these older guys, Woody Washington even, and they wanted to win the game for this. And it was going to take an absolute team victory. And when you look at the stat line, that's what this was. It was an absolute team victory.
It was 100% that. And Coop, even add to what you're saying, this is the thing that before we really dig really deep into this defense, this is the exact thing that I expected from Brent Venables in time. As he was building his defense, my expectation was the defense to look the exact way it did against Alabama in every single game. What's the unfortunate thing about that thought process? It takes time to get to that point. It's not something that happens immediately. You not only have to have the mental capacity, you got to have the physical capacity. So you can work the physical, but you still got to build that mental. And then you got to care. That game right there, I mean, even the Texas game last year, this game felt like they cared way more than anything else. Every down mattered. Everything was important. Everything was critical. This game felt like Just like you said, a blue blood that said, "Nah, we can't be. We got to stop this. We've got to turn the corner. We need to turn it in some capacity."
And guys, I mean, you saw the willingness to go, Tatum, we love you, man. You put it on the turf again. Have a seat over here. And we didn't see him again after that fumble.
Nope.
You had a situation where, and I want to give this is a shout out to the culture, an absolute shout out to culture. And if you guys want to go back and watch this one, EPL comes in for Fabichi Wewu, the only dude who's played in every single game at offensive line. Right? So if anybody who could say like, "Hey, hold on a second, man, I deserve a little bit of a leash here," but Fabichi wasn't getting some stuff done, and so they roll EPL out there, and they went to a timeout a few minutes later, and guess who was right there with EPL coaching him up? Is Fabichi Wewu.
Yep.
And when I saw that, that's in my heart where I was like, okay, you don't blow this damn thing up. You can't do that, because the culture that's been built here, it is phenomenal. And for you to get pulled, man, I'm just telling you, like, if Nicole tells me to, load the dishwasher differently, I have a lot of problem with self-control and not telling her to either do it herself or let me do it how I want to do it. Like, and so I love her to death, and if she sees this, I love you, babe. But
she's gonna kill you in your sleep.
To pull your, I don't know, most dependable offensive lineman and put a freshman in against Alabama in a game that, I mean, what's one step further than a must win? Because what's a must win when you probably have no chance at winning? But again, guys, this is why you play the game. This is why you line up, and this is why you do not look at lines. You do not look at anything, because there are a lot of pieces of the game that won't show up in the stat sheet that can determine a game. And I don't think that I fully gave in to the fact that we were going to win that game until about 6 minutes left in the game. At about the 6 minute mark, that was where I was like, all right, we're winning this game. And talk about jaded and talk about frustrated. I mean, so I would just say this is, I mean, with this Alabama game, I'll ask you guys this before we go to the defense. Would you rather exchange that? Which one do you think is better for the program? How this has played out with us winning against Alabama like we just did, or maybe losing to Alabama but getting the Ole Miss game, or maybe getting the Missouri game? Which one would have been?
This one's a lot bigger, and mainly because
I agree.
If you said that we had this dominant of a performance against any of the other teams, I could possibly agree. But the fact that it's the name Alabama right now, because Alabama's still the biggest brand out there. They're still the biggest, most national championships. They're the team that everybody's striving to build dynasties like, right? That is the team. They are the quote unquote standard, as in the last 20 years because of Nick Saban. That's what you want. That rings.
Hey, that's why it was on primetime. You telling me that you think that OU got that primetime slot because it was OU? No, you're rolling out a great defense with Bishop Sycamore's offense, and I promise you, like if that game was against Auburn at this point in the year, I mean, we're playing on Comedy Central, not primetime ABC.
But
so
to add to that, though, this is where that offensive brand and that piece comes in too. As you said, you're right, because it's Oklahoma, Alabama, two of the biggest brands in college football history. So you got two big blue bloods, great for college football. Mm-hmm. Sounds fantastic. But I want to give the last piece of flowers to the offense. The final drive of the game. We get that interception by Woody Washington. We have the ball for 6 minutes and 53 seconds.
Jay, you ran out the clock in the ending of the game.
When have we seen us do something like that? So it's funny because I went and watched that Colorado-Kansas game too. And that Kansas, that's exactly what they did against Colorado. There was 6 possessions in the second half. 3 of them was Kansas, 3 from Colorado, and Kansas had the ball probably 25, 30 minutes out of the 40. They just ran the clock. We went out there and did that against Alabama to where we had a possession for 5 plays, 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Then we had a 6 minute and 53 minutes possession. We had the ball over the last three possessions. We had the ball for 10 minutes.
And I'll say this too. You see it in NFL, college football, high school, whatever. It's the last 2 minutes going in the half and the last 2 minutes of the game, right? Or the last 4 minutes, whichever iteration you want, is our last two possessions in the first half or in the first quarter. We had 11 plays, 51 yards, 5 minutes and 58 seconds, which led to the field goal. The next drive, 12 plays, 67 yards, 5 minutes, 14 seconds, touchdown to go up 10-3. Then we come out and we come out, we get the interception, we go up. I'm trying to find, we've got five. I don't understand how this is even possible. In the beginning of the second quarter, 5 plays, 15 yards, 3 minutes and 17 seconds.
We have never done that.
I don't even understand how that's possible.
Cool.
And it looks like
5 plays.
It looks like we did it. We did it again the next possession. 5 plays, 15 yards, 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
5 plays.
So
that's not what we do. That's not what we've done most of this year, dog. And then all of a sudden we did it. I mean, we've gone for a good 30-something minutes on that. So we gonna give the flowers now more to defense as we've showered it in there. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Yes, we have an unconventional setup. I didn't get to open and talk about that. I'm at PG's house. We're actually about to go do an interview right after this. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be awesome. Y'all going to enjoy it. So just be prepared that that's coming down the pike. So at his spot, and we got to talk through this defense. Shout out to Prize Picks, sponsoring the channel. Didn't get to do my full ad, but you don't worry about it. They know I'm going to take care of them on the back end. PG, Coop. This defense went out there as we opened in our opening statements and excitement. 3 straight games, less than 300 yards total offense. This one is the least. This is the second least amount of yards we've given up this season. I talked about this at the beginning of the season against Temple. That 2009 season was brutal for us. Brutal. Injuries galore. Sam Bradford gets hurt to start the year. Team basically falls apart. All of that jazz. But that team still finished 8-5 with a bowl win. We have those capabilities now of beating that over under a 7.5 and getting 8 wins and finishing with a bowl. I'm not going to count our eggs for they hatch, but we are bowl eligible. If we win next week, we can continue the streak. Gotta love that the reactions are turned on. Thought I'd turn those off. I digress. That's why you saw bubbles. It's Apple's reactions. I thought I turned them off, but I digress. Cool. We gave up 234 yards of total offense in this game, and I 70 yards of rushing to a dude that had 200 and something yards rushing against LSU by himself.
Are we talking about Jalen Milroe?
We're talking about Jalen Milroe.
Okay, well, you know that Jalen Milroe in halftime had -2 yards to Jackson Arnold's 100.
And ended with 7.
He ended the game with 7 yards, y'all.
And it's not like we had 6 sacks that were just driving him back. We had 1 sack.
No, it was all just run. He had 12 carries, 185 yards against LSU. He cooked them by himself, literally. That was literally what he did. He cooked them. Missouri. Jalen Milroe in that game had 11 carries for 50 yards, and they blew out Missouri 34-0. They muscled Missouri. Basically did what we did to Missouri without falling apart in the fourth quarter.
Wait, so you're telling me he rushed on Oklahoma more times, 15 times, and only got 7 yards? The defensive line, that is the best they've ever played. And it's not an underreaction when you hear guys like George and guys like that say, DeJoun Terry had the best game of his career. Oh, he really did. And then you look at some of the other guys on the defensive line, Jaden Jackson. You saw David Stone out there for, I think it was 15 snaps or something like that. Like, he played a bunch. Like, this defensive line, everybody up and down the board played a huge role in containing Jalen Milroe. And Josh Pate said it perfectly. Brent Venables had him in hell.
Let me add to that. Zach Alley had this man, because that's the one thing we have to give mad props to Zach Alley too with Brent. You knew it was a mind game together. They looked at that and said, this is what we're going to have to do to get to stop him. Then you had Eli Bowen going out here putting the cuffs on this dude, Ryan Williams. Now, granted, I will give them that touchdown.
That was a touchdown.
It appears to be a wrong
NFL
call. It appears it should have been, because it appears that in the rules, you don't have to have a receiver on both sides of the offensive line to declare themselves. You don't have to. So they screwed that up because they were kind of confused that you have all these dudes on one side and literally no one on the left. That's an NFL rule, not a college rule. Ryan Williams is going to be a problem. Eli was shadowing him the exact way you want him to be shadowed.
Hey, did you know that Ryan Williams is only 17 years old?
Rumor has it that man has not turned 18 years old yet.
I think he might do a good job celebrating his 18th year on this blessed earth in Norman. So holler at us, man. You don't have to face Eli Bowen again. You don't have to face Eli Bowen again if you come here. Just in practice.
It'd be nice if he just goes ahead and hit that portal and go ahead and come to Oklahoma. But I digress.
Oh, we ain't gonna pay for no Ryan Williams in the portal. That man would demand NIL like we ain't ever seen before.
That's a Mill 5. You know, that's a Mill 5 type of guy right there.
Okay.
Because that's plug and play instant.
Coop's got it underneath his couch cushions. What are we doing here? That's the sugar daddy right there. That man's got all that bread. Don't play me. Don't play me. Don't play.
Checkbook.
See, exactly. He broke out the checkbook for it. So, anyway, no, to add to that, though, defensively, the secondary wasn't perfect. That catch by Jeremy Bernard, you could tell the safeties and Woody Washington, you could tell there was a little bit of out of placeness there. I think they expected a little bit more pressure by the line to force him to not be allowed to throw that, but he got the opportunity. He threw it a very beautiful dart, but the fact that Jeremy had to jump to catch it and hit the ground right afterwards, that took away some of the luster, because that should have been one of those catch, and run type situations. I think that Jalen Milroe saw ghost the entire game. The way that we was switching up on our blitzing schemes, the way that we got exotic in this one. You could see we kept bringing 8 to the box. We pull back 5. We bring up 7 to the box. And we basically played the same game that I seen Womack do at Alabama. But what changed it for them against us is that our whole mindset, like you said, Coop, was we're going to run the Riley Leonard offense, and you're just going to run that ball. If you don't feel comfortable, take your time, but go ahead and find the hole and run it. And we did the same thing to Milroe. We told him we want you to run. We dare you to run, because we want you to pass, but we dare you to run. And as soon as he took that dare, somebody was in his chest.
It was, and I say this. You guys don't have the stats up, right? And I'm repeating myself from last night, but how many tackles did the leading tackler on OU have last night? Can you guess?
5.
5. 3 guys had 5. Danny Stutzman had 4 tackles.
Des Malone had 5.
Yep. Danny Stutzman's first 3 tackles are why we shut them down on offense, because they run that power run right up the middle, and Danny waited patiently, and his first 3 tackles on Milroe, he hit the boy, and he made him really, really reconsider doing that. And that's when Milroe, then he started staying away from the interior. And so what happens? He runs out to the boundary. Well, now you got Kip flying around, pushing him further out. You've got great edge discipline. Yeah, and the Sooner ends. Listen, guys, that is the best game by the Sooner edge rushers since maybe 2020 when Perkins came back from suspension.
Yep.
And you had Perkins and Isaiah out there. You had Nick Benito. You had Perrion in the middle. Like, that's the best game we've seen from the edge rushers since then. But I just say this: Danny had 4 tackles, and 3 of them changed the look of the game, and none of them were spectacular. They were just him waiting for Milroe, And I promise you this is once you took the power away, and Milroe, as great of a runner as he is, what makes him hard to tackle is he gets in that middle, and you can't just reach out and grab him. You can't, you can't do any of that stuff. You got to take on. I mean, he's like a more athletic Braden Willis, and so when he starts running sideline to sideline, this defense has got speed for days, and there was no chance that he was going to be able to get out into the edge and break that outside. And just like our boy up in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, is the moment that you take that running game away from these guys, everything is different.
Yep.
They're different people. They're different football players. And every single time that he had the little inclination of, now I'm going to tuck it up in the middle, and he saw 2-8 back there with his neck collar on, it just wasn't appealing anymore. And so, I mean, shout out to Danny. One of the quietest games that he's probably ever had. And you saw, I think we had like 5 minutes left. We got the ball back. Maybe it was right after the interception. He went down on his knee, and he was having himself a moment, because I think that's literally why that's the culmination of his entire football career at Oklahoma, was that game last night.
Yeah, and it's a done deal. It's crazy to me that the career of our guy, Danny Stutzman, is done. And we got to enjoy it with him and Billy. They had fun. They won their last home game. They made it happen the way that you was hoping that they would. But, man. So
and listen, we say Billy and Danny, and we have forgotten Ethan Downs.
Oh yeah, Ethan Downs
quite often this year. Ethan Downs,
Woolard, shout out to him. I think he got injured. I saw his dad posted that he had a little injury. I'm hoping he gets better.
He should be back for the bowl game. But guys, I just say that on defense, what Eli Bowen did, the freshman on freshman situation, and Eli Bowen had, even on the touchdown catch, Eli Bowen had really, really good coverage.
He really
did. And if
Ryan
Williams, Ryan Williams is 6 foot tall. He's not like 6'3", 6'4", or anything like that. He's 6 foot tall. And now, does he have the capability to grow since he just hit puberty last year? Maybe. But like he's got a chance to maybe be 6'1" when it's all said and done. But Eli Bowen, one of the plays that Eli made was, I think that they tried to run a rub route and lose Eli in the middle. And Ryan went from the short side of the field all the way to the wide side of the field. Milroe threw an absolute dart, and Eli broke it up. And you see Ryan Williams' face, like
frustrated.
Hey, what am I going to do? Like that was a play to get me open, and dude was there still.
Yep. His pick.
2 catches.
2 catches. Dude finished 2 catches, 37 yards, which was less. I picked that on Prize Picks. I told you to pick less than 51 and a half. So we did pick that and got that bad boy right. Same thing with Jalen Milroe with less than 200 and something yards. Told you that on Prize Picks as well. Check them out. Link in the description below. Let's wrap it up. Another Kip 6 to lead us into next season.
Kip has 1 less touchdown than our leading receiver.
He does. And he is officially the president and king of the state of Alabama.
No, he's the governor of Alabama. Like, Kip Lewis owns that state.
No, we don't do governorship around him. We don't have to. He's king. He's just gonna walk in there and claim the territory as his. He just did. His interceptions literally capped each game perfectly. You wrap the game up with pick sixes.
It's literally, you know how they do with the SEC shorts where Vandy has the king's cloak and the hat and he's walking in.
Yes.
Like, is he the Burger King guy or is he a pimp? I'm not 100% sure. Like, that's what Kip 6 needs to be in SEC shorts, and Alabama and Auburn need to be sitting there and they're like, no, it's him. Get him out of here.
That's exactly who he is. He's it. He's the king. He's going to be in the playoff tree just for the fun of it and just say, don't worry about it next year. Because the beauty of it is, you talked about this, Kip and Kobe back next year. The green dot is worn a lot by Kobe with Stutz, because Stutz doesn't have to tell everybody where to be. He just has Kip and Kobe do it, and he makes sure everything's just. And you've seen the improvement week over week. So all that means is next season that Kip and Kobe are going to be. They're going to have that bad boy down to like a science. The youth movement we have on this team.
Yes.
Next season it's going to be so much freaking fun on defense.
I was going to say that
the offense is really good.
Better. It should be better. There's no excuse for it not to be. Going forward, though, this is the team I told y'all I expected out of Brent Venables. It took them 3 years and 10 games, but we got right at the exact type that we're looking for. Physical, nonstop, running games travel, so do defenses. And we brought all of that even at the crib. Coop, what's your final eval for Brent Venables and that staff right now based upon how we just saw this game?
I mean, I said it earlier. It's the culture. You know what your identity for your entire football team is, the defense. And I think that every single one of these teams that have played us this year, they will be preparing for our defense with a little bit more vigor next year. I think that when you have Lewis Carter, Kobe, Kip, Omasigo, you get Kendall Dolby back. You got McCullough with a full year, hopefully. You're going to go in and, I mean, Malik Hawkins, if he makes it on campus, I was more excited about him than I was about Eli.
He was at the game talking about he can't wait for next year. Wait to see what we going to be.
And I promise you this, Jay, with all those guys there, all those recruits and everybody watching prime time, there's college. That is a college football game to the T. Also, all the NFL scouts. You see all those NFL scouts, and I promise you, there was probably some knowledge of how many people were there in the building. But that's why you want to come to a bigger university. That's why you want to go to a place like Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama. You're going to go up against some of the best, and that's why we're in this conference right now. Because I promise you, it does not matter. Pick whoever one of the top three out of the bless your heart Big 12. If that's that, we're not playing them at primetime ABC last night. If we're 5-5 and they're 7-2 or whatever. I'm very, very excited about. I'm really, really excited about the fact that it seems that the narrative all week was just don't get embarrassed. Like, show that the arrow really is pointing up. So now you've got a trip to Baton Rouge. They're not too excited right now. They've been struggling. And guess what? They're not very good at stopping the run. And so
what we going to do? Muscle them?
So you're going to go in there, and we said it about the early in the season, is you're either going to have a bunch of dudes who are gassed because that defensive line for LSU is really, really young, and they've hit their wall, or they're going to be kind of coming into their own, and but still it's end of the year. So what is that going to look like? And I'm guys, I want to say something, and. For all the doomers in the chat, anybody who still is out there, just read the room. We were sitting here thinking 24 hours ago that we're not going to a bowl game. Maybe there was like a 2% hope that LSU, we could do something there, but nobody was expecting a bowl game. You beat Alabama, you're bowl eligible. You go down, and if you can put together another good, comprehensive, complimentary football game against LSU, and you beat Alabama at home in primetime, you beat LSU on the road in primetime, and then let's say that you go to a bowl game and win that. That's 8 wins.
That's right. PG, look at this comment. Don't say it out loud. Just look at this comment. I just think it's hilarious. Don't say anything. Don't say nothing. You don't say nothing. I just think it's hilarious, not LOL the entire time on that one. But no, this was a program defining a good microcosm of what this team's going to be. PG, what's your final thoughts? We got to get ready to get up out of here anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my final thoughts are I think we looked at the LSU game as the only game left on the schedule where you had a chance to get bowl eligible. You're bowl eligible now. Yep. And I think that LSU game, you're coming in a moment where they're collapsing. So you have an opportunity to go in there and in the regular season 7-5, get 15 bowl practices, and in the season 8-5. Guys, there's a chance Alabama could end the season 8-5 if they lose to Auburn and their bowl game. Like, we're talking about Bama being this great team at the beginning of the year, and they could have the same record as us at the end. So I feel really confident where the team's at. The offense is fixable. They're going to hire an offensive coordinator. You heard a lot of rumors and rumblings of guys in the portal and stuff. I will wait and see at the end of the year because there's obviously you're going to have really high emotion. Talking to a lot of recruits from last night that were at the game, high emotions from them as well. Let's see how the rest of the year goes along, but next year the offense will be fine. So you could carry a lot of momentum going in the next season, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to do what we did last year, build upon it, and then hopefully go in the next season healthy. And if you go in the next season healthy, this is a team that I think has an opportunity to make the playoffs next year and probably make some noise in the playoffs. Like, they're probably going to finally get that playoff win if they can put it all together. Like, if last night you have a Deion Burks and a Jalil Farouk in that game, and they're fully healthy, there's a chance you might have scored almost 50 points on Alabama. Like, there is that chance. The offense could have been that explosive. So I will say, though, I do go into the LSU game asking myself, I know the defensive line's not that good. Do we play Michael Tarquin, or do we continue to roll with Spencer Brown and continue with some continuity? I know fans don't like that. Spencer Brown's played pretty well in the couple opportunities he's gotten in the SEC play.
Look, to add to that, PG, you're spot on. We're gonna go into there. Our goal is to close this out 8-5. We go 8-5. That changes a lot of the perspective. A lot of perspective around this team. Too. Oh yeah, and the portal. We've got a lot. The optics right now for Oklahoma looks good. Stephen G asked this question. I want to wrap that up with this. I had absolutely no problem with the team with us rushing the field. I do have an issue with us being Sooners and rushing the field, as in rushing the field before the time goes to 0. You got to learn how to not be who you are sometimes.
Hey,
clean it up.
It's in the name.
Clean it up. Clean it up. You got to clean it up. I don't care if you're a Sooner.
Students cost OU an extra $100K.
They cost Brent Venables $200K, as he said he's going to go ahead and fit the bill because, But as far as $300, yes, it cost Brent Venables $300. But as far as actually doing the deed of storming it, yes, with as brutal as this season has been, I totally agree with storming the field. I get it. It had nothing to do with just that we beat Alabama. Is that this year has been poo, and now we're bowl eligible, and now we can look at the future, and that also solidifies this coaching staff of through all the adversity. And Brent Venables said it. If it's harder, it makes it even better, right? Like, as hard as the year that we've had, everybody is now taking this and realizing, dang, we struggled, but we came together. We cared. We cared as a family. We did it. And as far as the student section, this was the most excited I've seen them since the Tennessee game. Thank goodness they showed up. They showed out. They were loud. That stadium was rocking. Ask anybody that was there. This was probably the most electric I've seen since the Tennessee game. And that Tennessee game was rocking.
No, that might be the loudest. That might be the loudest I've ever heard Norman for any football game. And they tried to play the jump around. Totally didn't work. I mean, it wasn't 2008. We didn't have, what was it? Texas Tech was like number 1 or something at that point. Like, yeah, we weren't beating them 42-7.5. I mean, they tried, it didn't work. But throughout the game, it got louder. And by the fourth quarter, that was the loudest I've ever heard Norman in my life. I would have been curious to hear what the decibel level was at that point in time.
So yeah,
it'll probably come out. But I say this too is I got to blame the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was Jay Will's fault that the field storming happened a little too early. I believe that Jay Will was sitting up on the wall. The forward for the Thunder, he was there at the game, and he's sitting at the wall and he's leaning through, and they're trying to do a photo on the broadcast, and then I think it was maybe it was Herb Street, but he said, "Oh, it looks like people are already ready to storm the field," and I think there was. At that point, there were still like 3 minutes left. But again, it's not. You didn't go out and you just pull out a win. You went out and beat the shit out of Alabama, and we haven't had that team this year.
J-Dub,
And so,
not Jay Will, but it's okay.
oh, J-Dub, yeah,
J-Dub. It was barking. Woo, 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 woo. All right, we need to get out of here. We're running late. Thank y'all for pulling up. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the channel. Links in the description below. Prize Picks. Daily Fantasy Sports made easy for Coop and PG. We will be back, of course. I don't know, Wednesday maybe. Probably try to do something on Wednesday. If not, I don't know. We'll figure out what day this week. We'll post it on the social medias. Follow. I'll also make sure to post it in the community so y'all know. Happy Thanksgiving if we don't talk to y'all before then, because it's a holiday week. So y'all relax and enjoy yourself, and we will chop it up with each and every single one of y'all next day or two. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button, and rate, review. Give us 5 stars. Peace.